have to tell you, I feel like the anchovy on Ivanka's Caesar salad. I know you're salivating for that and you're going to get it. But before I start, I just have to tell you a funny story. I was driving over here, and for sure I was a little bit nervous. So I picked up the phone, and I have a great uncle in Beirut who's an unbelievable international lawyer and an orator. So I called him up and I said, Uncle, you've got to help me. I'm speaking right before Ivanka and Donald at the Republican National Convention, and I'm a little bit nervous. So can you give me some advice? He said, why would they have you? I said, no, that's not exactly what I need. I need to be pumped up. I'm nervous. I need some confidence. Don't do this to me. So, okay. Give me 2 minutes and let me think. He says, I've got it. You're just like a deceased at an Irish wake. I said, you mean I'm that good? He said, no. You need to be there to get things started, but nobody really expects you to say very much. So with that, I want to start. And I'm here because Donald Trump is one of my closest friends for 40 years. And I'm the son of a very humble Lebanese grocer from Culver City, California. Where's California? Yes. And I'm here because of the amazing magic elixir that happened between the DNA of 1,000 civilizations from the Levant and the beauty and the wonder and the opportunity of America that puts all of us here in this rapture of the American dream for me to be here tonight to talk about my friend, my partner, and the future President of the United States, Donald Trump. But what I'm going to do is something different, and you're going to hate me for it because you're not going to hear one negative thing out of my mouth. I have nothing negative to say about Hillary. I have only amazing things to tell you about Donald. Because this man is good enough, he's tough enough, he's smart enough, and he's well-versed enough to do it on his own merits. We don't need to go anyplace else. So what I want to do is spend a little time talking to you about the messenger, the man, without his armor, without his weaponry, walking down the tunnel into the arena. Who is he? What is he made out of? So if we start, an easy place to find him is in his children. And you've all had the great opportunity to see his kids over the last couple of days. What do you think of that? And the litmus test for any parent, as we all know, is in the children. And my mother used to say, you learn what a man is by listening to your mother, but you learn how to be a man by watching your father. You watch this man, you get it. Those of us who are married or have a partner understand that the best reflection on us is our wives. In my case, for sure, it's my wife, Rochelle. And in Donald's case, for sure, it's his wife, Melania. And Melania, I want to tell you, on behalf of the 10,000 people that are in this stadium and the 50 million people who are watching, you are a timeless tribute to beauty, grace, and elegance under pressure. You're amazing. You're awesome. So I'm going to use words that you probably haven't heard about Donald. I started my relationship with him in a funny way. I had the great fortune of working for a man named Bob Bass in Fort Worth, Texas. In the 80s, we bought a hotel company. And the hotel company, in addition to lots of other things, happened to own the hotel that was right behind Donald's window in his office. So you know Donald well enough by now to know that he needed that hotel. And I was a young pup. He was a big guy in New York at the time, and he wanted to buy the hotel. Long story short, we end up having 30 lawyers, 50 accountants. We can't get to a deal. I'm scared to death because my boss is going to fire me for selling to Trump, who's smarter, who's brighter, who's better, and who will end up getting a much better deal. So Donald, in the midst of this, and this is really what started my friendship, did something I had never seen before and that I have used consecutively after that. He said, look, I want to do this. I don't know what I should know. So I will pay your boss the price that he wants, and I'll close it in 1 week on one condition. You, Tom Barrack, tell me everything I should know that I don't know. I said, look, I just told you, I'm not doing that. We're not entering into this kind of a contract. He said, no, no contract. No contract. You and I shake hands right here. No lawyers, no contract, no nothing. You just tell me the things that I should know and how to fix it, and I'll do this deal. He played me like a Steinway piano. I then spent 4 months fixing everything in the hotel. A little rent-controlled tenant named Fannie Lowenstein, who was the smartest woman in the world, 83 years old. He had me buy her a piano, do the carpet. It was one of the most amazing things I had ever seen. He was incredible, but he practices an unbelievable set of disciplines. So everybody says, okay, the man is rich, he's a celebrity, he's powerful, but what is he going to do? How does he do it? And he has relentless habits, these relentless, beautiful habits. He shows up on time. He believes that punctuality is the courtesy of kings. He doesn't confuse efforts with results. He befriends the bewildered. He pushes everybody around him, including you, through comfort barriers that they never thought that they could ever shatter. And he does all this with the discipline of an animal in the jungle. You know, his motto is that a lion wakes up every morning and knows one thing, that it has to run faster than the fastest gazelle. And a gazelle wakes up and she knows that she needs to run faster than the fastest lion. But whether you're a gazelle or a lion, you wake up in the morning and you get the hell going. And that is Donald. But I want to share with you 2 little vignettes that really stuck in my mind. And it's not financial, and it's not how rich he is, and it's not what a great deal guy is, and it's that you know all those things. And I'm telling you, after 35 years of being with a man through the valleys and up the mountains, he really is better than the billing that you see. Just as an administrator, as an executive, as a guy who can actually take care of the people that work for him and build teams. But it was 1989. I know many of you, especially you girls, were not alive then. And it was a Tyson fight. And at this time, Donald was big in Atlantic City, and he called me up and he said, okay, let's go to the Tyson fight. I said, I have one of my little sons with me. He said, no problem, I'll bring Donnie, let's go. Of course, in typical Trump style, we hop in the Trump helicopter, we fly into Atlantic City, and it's a zoo. We land, thousands of paparazzi, thousands of people everywhere, whisked to his limo, go to the front of the convention center, and there's 10,000 cameras. So they say, let's go to the back of the convention center. We go to the back of the convention center, we start walking in, and people are harassing him like mad. At the side of the door, there's a little nondescript man, and he says, Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump. And Donald stops, he walks over to the door, he says, Louis. He says, Mr. Trump, I'm so happy to see you, and thank you for what you've done for my employees, and thank you for what you do for me, and I just want you to know that my critically ill son thinks you're the greatest man in the world. Meanwhile, everything's going crazy, we're late to get to the fight, and Donald's just focused, eye to eye with this man who at that moment thought that he was the only star in Donald's universe. He said, Louis, I'm not the greatest man in the world, you are. So we take the kids, we roll in, it's 5 minutes to the fight. I think it was Tyson's Holmes, probably lasted 4 seconds. I can't remember, it was one of Tyson's longer fights. We get to the floor and he's fidgety and I can't figure what's happening. I've got the boys and I said, what's wrong? He said, give me your program. I gave him my program. He writes something on it. He brings one of his security guards over and sends it back to the doorman. I said, what was that? He said, I just wrote a note. I said, what did the note say? He said it was to his son and said, I came here tonight to see two champions, Mike Tyson and your dad. True story. Now, what kind of man in the middle of his celebrityship has the presence to focus on the littlest guy in the shop? And that is Donald Trump. 10 years later, one of the greatest men in Donald's life passed away, Fred Trump. And the funeral was being held the night before at the Frank Campbell Funeral Hall, 82nd and Madison. So Donald called me up and he says, I can't stand it. I'm going to go over early. Why don't you come over early with me? I said, fine. We get to the funeral hall and we're sitting as kind of, two middle-aged guys that go through that debate when your father leaves of what's the difference between relevancy and mortality, right? That loss where you're really questioning what's important and what's not important, and it's not about money, and it's not about power, and it's not about stuff, and all of the agony that you have with your father at that instant just evaporates, and you're sitting there with something. So he sat there just kibitzing, musing, and I said, how do you feel? He said, well, I'm thankful that I have my dad's strength and my mom's sensitivity, and all I want to do is leave the legacy of the Trump name that they built brick by brick a little bit better than I found it. He's done it. So look, we're at a tipping point. The world is a mess. This necklace of globalism that we've all talked about has crumbled and shattered into 1,000 shards. It needs a jeweler to take each of those jewels one by one, starting with America, its own diamond, and polish it. Then slowly find that seamless strength, put them all back together so that what we look at is the necklace of prosperity and tolerance around the world. So we've been on an adventure, and people say, wow, Donald Trump, it's like a Missioner tale. From businessman, celebrity, father, to potentially president of the United States. And I say to you, it is a tale, but it's up to you, all of you tonight, to unite in one pen, one hand, and make once upon a time, once upon this time. Thank you.